Hello, welcome back. Happy Monday. We are live with the On Deck podcast going over today's 11-game slate for both FanDuel and DraftKings. Once again, I am your host, Tyler Wiemann. Shannon is still out. She will be back tomorrow. I know you guys miss her and I do as well, but we will just jump right into it like we did on Friday because it's just me. You know, there's not the normal banter, but we still got DFS to talk about. First, we will talk about some weather notes here. And the big game to kind of watch is Tampa Bay at Baltimore. There are showers going on. It looks like if they have a delayed start, the game will play. However, we're not totally sure what they will do in Baltimore. Atlanta at Philadelphia is similar. However, it doesn't look quite as bad. It does look like there will be some clearing. And the most likely outcome is they are able to play there. Outside of that, Cleveland at Boston, there is a decent chance of delay during the game, but the game should play. And everything else kind of looks all right. Some possible showers in Kansas City, but it looks light enough to kind of play through if there is an issue. Now, a little bit of housekeeping here for you guys. Once again, 44 days until NFL starts. When the NFL starts, our prices will be going up. Unfortunately, inflation has finally hit us like it has the rest of the world. We are currently $19.99 per month or $199.99 for the year. That price is going up. Lock it in now by subscribing, and you will be able to keep that price as long as you do not let your your premium subscription lapse. So lock it in now. Get in, join us, the community, the chat. We would love to have you. And now let's get into the slate. As we always do, we will start with ownership. Now, we have ownership with Sean Manaea coming in at 36% on DraftKings, and on FanDuel he's coming in about 20%. Now, let's dive into Manaea a little bit. He has an excellent matchup versus the Detroit Tigers. The Detroit lineup is a little bit better versus lefties than they are righties. Versus righties, they are towards the bottom of the league. Versus lefties, they still are subpar, but a little bit better. They don't strike out quite as much, 21.6% K rate versus lefties, and they have a super low 121 WOBA. So this is a huge reason why Manaea is coming in at such high ownership. He does have a 4.5 star LineStar alert rating. He has been okay lately. Last month, he has a 4.98 ERA, 4.11 on the season. And as you can see, his FIP for these last 5 starts, which is roughly about the last month, again, 4.77. So he has not been great. One thing I would like to point out is that K rate has been down a little bit and walks up. So he will need to watch his walks today and hopefully get a little more strikeout stuff to support that high ownership. Now, if we look at the BVP numbers here, he's done okay versus them. There is at least a 23.3% K rate, but he is allowing them almost to hit 270 off of him in 30 plate attempts. Vegas run total for Detroit is only 4. So that's not bad, especially at Manaea's price. He can absolutely hit value. He is also decent favorites at minus 165. So I understand why people are going here. It is a decent matchup. He is a good pitcher. He has some upside, but not a ton of upside, as you notice here. Only a couple games kind of in the upper 20s. Personally, I am a Padre fan, but I'm not totally sure I can eat the chalk on Manaea here. So we will we'll see with him, and we will move on to Max Fried, who's coming in at 35% and 36% on FanDuel. Now Fried is absolutely the Braves ace. He is been great also an ex-Padre. Kind of wish we never got rid of him. But Fried has just been magnificent. 2.29 FIP over the last 5, 2.7 over the last, or 2.57 over the last 20, and ERA 2.27 over the last month. So he has been good. The one thing with Fried is that his strikeout numbers for his salary aren't generally there. He only has a 23% K rate, and at 10.5 K, that's not a ton of upside. However, Philly lineup does strike out, so we do have some upside here. Philly's lineup, expected lineup, is a 26% K rate. Their WOBA is low versus lefties, and the ISO is 0.16, which is about 0.02 over league average. So they do hit the ball harder than average. However, they strike out more than average, and they aren't getting on base that much with that lower WOBA. We only have a 3.7 run total here, and Braves are minus 180 favorites. So Fried is absolutely in a good matchup, and he has fared well against the Phillies previously, as you can see. 98 plate attempts, 0.244 average, and a 24.5% K rate, which is much higher than that combined K rate that LineStar is showing today. And if we can look at some past matchups, he does have some upside, has shown high 20s here, but mainly, kind of middle ground versus the Phillies, and especially so far in 2022, where last time out versus the Phillies, he went 6 innings, gave up 2 runs, and had 5 Ks. So Fried looks okay. He is a great pitcher in a decent matchup. His StatCast data looks good. All in all, he's all right today. And next we have Aaron Ashby, who is going very high owned today for what he has done in his career. We have shown that he has some upside. He has this 12K game, but lately that strikeout numbers have not been there. 3, 5, 2 over his last 3. The other thing to note is that he only went 22 pitches in 1 inning on July 17th. So that was before the All-Star break, a decent layoff here. It'll be interesting to see how many pitches Milwaukee allows him to go. Now, the start before, he did have 101 pitches, so I don't know if we should be too worried that there's going to be a pitch limit on him, but it is something to kind of take note of. Now, he does have a 5-star LineStar alert rating. Colorado versus lefties have been good, though, and they're only striking out 18.7%, have a high 1.7 or 0.171 ISO, and a pretty good 0.359 WOBA versus lefties. So Ashby is good. He does have some upside for his price. However, Colorado is a good offense versus lefties, and they don't strike out that much. Now, if we dig into his stats a little bit, it isn't that great. He does have that strikeout upside, as we're showing, 26% K rate over the last 20, 24% over the last 5, but his FIP is a little scary at 5.44 over his last 5 starts. Now, it is only 4 over his last 20 starts, and I would expect he's a little more of that 4 pitcher than he is the 5.44. However, we're playing a game where it matters about today, and he hasn't been great lately, and there's some high ownership here. Pitching as a whole today is a little bit weird. There isn't a ton of high upside spots, and that's really why the Frieds, Manea are really coming in so high owned, is because they're a little bit safer. So he doesn't have any BVP. 20% combined K rate. The opponent split, so Colorado, as I've said, does hit lefties well, so that is something to take in mind. But then his StatCast data is really good. A lot of soft contact, not much hard contact, not too many barreled balls. Overall, I understand the ownership. We don't have a ton of really good pitchers on this slate, so it makes sense. And now let's go into our low-owned pitchers where we can talk about a little more. Now, I'll start off with Tony Gonsolin. Now, he isn't low-owned by any means, 28% on DraftKings, and we'll flip over to the FanDuel site here too so we can show you guys the ownerships on FanDuel. Click the pitchers. And he's coming in at 8% on FanDuel, almost 9%. And let's just kind of click on him to see what we got here. Now, Tony G has been absolutely great this year. 4-star alert rating. Washington doesn't K much, and Gonsolin doesn't have huge K upside. But Washington also is in a great lineup outside of Soto, Woba, just over 3, ISO 0.14, which, again, like I've said, that's right around league average. So they're just kind of a meh offense. If he can keep damage down to Soto, he'll probably be in a good night. Now, the one thing that's interesting with Gonsolin, and I've been talking about this kind of all season long, is his FIP is way higher than his ERA. Usually means there's going to be some regression. However, we have been waiting for that all season long, and it just has not happened. Some pitchers are able to do this where they keep an ERA much lower than their FIP. One pitcher like that is Marco Gonzalez. He's not a terrible pitcher. He limits runs, but guys hit him, and that FIP is much higher than its ERA. Now, I don't want to put Gonsolin and Marco Gonzalez in the same category, but it was just kind of a way to tell you about another pitcher that does that. So I would expect some regression. I don't really think there's much coming here. He has been good. He was good last year in starts, and it just continues to happen. Now, his strikeout stuff, he does only have a 24% K rate over the last 20. Once again, it's another pitcher that is high priced that doesn't have huge K upside. We see a lot of that today on this slate, though, so don't be too worried about that. His StatCast data is good. He is letting some hard contact, but not too much. 30% is fine. Opponent splits are kind of mixed. And if we go to the BVP, there's really not enough numbers here to talk about, so I wouldn't really worry about that. But the Dodgers are huge favorites tonight at minus 320. There's only a 3.4 implied total. The combined K rate, 19.8%, which is right around the other high-owned guys that we've talked about. But that run total is a little bit lower. So if Gonsolin does keep this lower ownership than the other guys, I absolutely would like going to him. Another low-owned guys that I want to talk about is, we'll go with Jake Odorizzi. Where's good old Jake? Now, he is 2% on FanDuel. On FanDuel, I don't know if I would go to him. I would probably stick to one of the higher-owned guys. But on DraftKings, he is at 14%, and I think he is an option on DraftKings with him being a fairly low price. Now, we've talked about it over and over and over again. Oakland versus righties is kind of an auto start unless they're the pitcher's super high owned. Again, Oakland, high K rate, almost 24%. Very low WOBA, 0.282. Low ISO, 0.128. So there's a lot of reasons to like him. Now, the one thing that you do need to worry with Odorizzi is his StatCast data. He's allowing a ton of fly balls. At least we are in Oakland, so it is a pitcher-friendly park. A lot of foul territories. He can definitely make that work for him. I wouldn't worry about the fly balls too much. Also, it's Oakland, so it's not going to be super warm. But he is limiting barrel balls. Unfortunately, he is giving some decently high exit velocity, but all in all, he looks fine, and his FIP does look great. 3.5 over the last 20, 3 over the last 5. Again, K rate is not that high, but Oakland strikes out a lot, so we have a 23.2% K rate on him, which is higher than some of those high-owned guys today. So I do think he is a nice pivot. One thing to worry about, though, 65 plate attempts, they are hitting 270 against him, and only a 14% K rate in that BVP matchup. So that 23.2% K rate may be a little high for him today. Just keep that into consideration when you want to use one of these low-owned guys. And the last low-owned guy I wanted to bring up is Corey Kluber. Kluber has shown some pretty good upside this year. He is fairly cheap. Again, it's another guy that doesn't strike out a ton of pitchers, ton of batters, 20% K rate, but he has been very good. 3.07 FIP, 3.38 FIP over his last 20, 3.07 number was over his last 5. And StatCast data is pretty solid. Not many barrel balls, 40% fly balls, 35% ground balls, all kind of around league average. Pretty low, almost 20% soft contact rate, and he's really not letting many guys hit him hard or have a high exit velocity. Now, the BVP numbers are a little worrisome, though. 131 plate attempts. They're hitting 280 off him, so that is a little higher than I would like. They have 6 home runs and pretty high over 200 ISO, but we do at least have a 21.4% K rate, whereas the combined K rate is 19.7. So whereas Ordrizi, his BVP K rate's way lower. At least with Kluber, the BVP K rate is a little bit higher. So it is a couple reasons go with him. Now, Baltimore has been hot lately, but I think that Kluber can limit that a little bit. The one other thing to take into consideration is he did just face Baltimore right before the All-Star break. And now let's go to our high-owned stacks. And we'll just go back to DraftKings here for it. As high-owned stacks, we are looking at the Dodgers and Cleveland. Dodgers pretty significantly higher owned than everybody else, with Cleveland coming in right next. You got to scroll pretty far down to get anybody other than Cleveland and the Dodgers here. Now let's kind of dive into their daily matchup a little bit. We'll go to the pitchers tab here. And Dodgers are facing Washington. So we have good old Paulo Espino is the pitcher they are going against. As you can see, the Dodgers are good versus righty, almost 200 ISO, 340 WOBA, and Espino has not been good. Bottom 10 in allowing average exit velocity, bottom 5% in average distance, bottom 5 in barreled balls. So simply put, guys are putting the bat on the ball against him, and now he's going up against a very dangerous Dodgers lineup. No surprise that the Dodgers are looking very high owned tonight. He also has not been great. 6.3 FIP over the last 20, 4.8 FIP over the last 5. And the BVP numbers, Dodgers have got to him. 5.5 Vegas total. So no surprise, everybody wants to go there. Now our next high-owned stack is Cleveland going against Nick Poverty. It's Nick Pivetta. If you have been following along in the show, early in the season, we were picking on Pivetta a lot, calling him Nick Poverty. And that is really because of this stretch of games that he had where he was not very good. He is doing that again now. Allowed 7 runs, 6 runs, 7 runs over those last 3 games. So he's just allowing way too many runs. And Cleveland is a good lineup and it is at Fenway, which is a hitter-friendly park. Cleveland's WOBA, 330 versus righties, and they have crushed Pivetta, hitting 360 in the last 25 at-bats. Meanwhile, Pivetta, again, just like Espino, a lot of hard contact, 92.5% hard contact is pretty crazy to be averaging that. That is extremely high, and also bottom 10 in distance. Now, one thing, again, little chance postponement here. So before you lock Cleveland in, make sure you pay attention. Also, more BVP data, 37 plate attempts. As we have talked about in the past, the alert area is a smaller sample size. So that is over the last month or last 3 years, whereas the BVP data here goes back a little bit further, 37 plate attempts. They're hitting 360 versus him. Now, the one thing, though, is they aren't hitting him hard. There's only a .083 ISO. But all in all, 4.8 run total for Cleveland, which is pretty high. You got to like your chances here. Now, let's talk about some lower-owned stacks. We got to go to Houston. Houston is a great offense. Now, Alvarez could be in today. I am not totally sure. If he is in, you got to like this stack even more. But simply put, Oler has not been great. He was allowed to get to 80 pitches, still couldn't get past the fifth inning, allowed 3 runs, and in every other start this year, he's been pretty much an opener. Because of this last start, he did go 79 pitches. I would expect him to be in for, 80, 85 or so. But we have a 4.8 run total. They have faced him in that last start where they hit 316 off him, got 2 home runs. And if we look at all the rest of the data, really high FIP, ton of fly balls, 63% fly balls. That is just crazy. But it is interesting that he hasn't been hit that hard. It's just that when he has got hit, the ball has gone far as the 2 home runs. Now, so you got to like Houston anytime they're going against a subpar pitcher. And then next, I want to talk about Seattle and San Francisco. So San Francisco is going to be a little bit of a sneaky stack here. I don't see them being high owned. And Gilbert hasn't been good, so I don't know why. 6.8 FIP over his last 5 starts, 5 FIP over his last 20, and his StatCast data is less than be desirable. 45% fly balls, 35% hard contact. At least he is missing some barrels here with only 5 over the last month, but average distance is pretty good there. And BVP numbers, with only 9, I really wouldn't take into consideration, but 4.7 in applied total. You got to like San Francisco a little bit. The one thing that is kind of weird with San Francisco stacks is that they do like to change up their lineup a little bit and sub mid-game. So be careful there, as you could be hit by a little bit of substitution. Now, Seattle going against Glenn Otto. Now, I really like this Seattle lineup. I do hope J-Rod is back in the lineup, but I do not expect it, and I like it either way. Their stack isn't that expensive, and I do see some high upside here. Seattle's only hitting 210 against Otto, but I don't really mind that too much. We do have a 4.5 Vegas implied total here, but Otto just hasn't been good. 5.7 FIP over the last 5 and 4.7 over the last 20. He's allowing a lot of hard contact, a lot of barreled balls, and I think Seattle can really kind of get to him today. They did also just face him where he gave up 2 home runs and 3 earned runs. So that will do it for our low-owned stacks, and I just want to use this time to remind you to please like, subscribe, and comment to our YouTube channel. It does help Shannon and I a ton. Now, on to the sleeper picks. So we'll go to good old DraftKings and go by value here. And it comes Yerman Mercedes. Now, Yerman is a nice little hitter here, and it is with a stack that we like. If you remember last week, we talked about Tapia, who went absolutely nuts with that huge Blue Jays game. So this is another situation where I like the stack and I like the value options here. So Yerman, there's a lot to like. You can see good hitter versus lefties. Arizona bullpen's bad. Gilbert isn't very good either. So Mercedes tops that list. And now on FanDuel, let's look at the value side here. And once again, it is another giant with Austin Slater. He is also one of our guys on Friday. But Slater, when he starts, he's been hitting leadoff usually. Again, Arizona bullpen, not great. Gilbert's not great. And it's a stack we like, so Slater is in a good situation. All right, now the time you guys have all been waiting for. We have our home run calls. My home run call today is the top of the daily matchups. We have Freddie Freeman going against Espino. As we talked about, Espino does get hit hard, and Freeman has done well versus him with it is only 8 plate attempts, but he does have a 500 average, 500 ISO. He has hit a home run versus him, and nobody is hotter than Freeman. Hit 430 last week, hitting 380 over the last month with 7 home runs. I think he can hit another one out tonight. So that is my home run call of the day. And if you want to play along with us, go to our Twitter at LineStar app, retweet our home run call of the day, and let us know you're tailing with your own home run pick. Get it right, and you could win your choice of a free LineStar subscription or $25. Now it is time for our prop bet segment. So to play along with this, go to our YouTube page, and all you have to do is make sure you are subscribed to us, and comment below. If Eli and I hit our pick, you will win $60. What we're doing here is we are eating our own food here. We are betting $20 on these 2 picks. So it would be a 3x on Underdog. And with that, you get the $60. So we're just passing the winnings off to you. Now, all of our picks are available on Underdog Fantasy. The link will be below. If you use that link, deposit at least $10, and you are a new customer to Underdog, you do receive 3 months of free LineStar Premium. It is a great deal, and I would absolutely take advantage. As you can see, our platform is nice, very informative. This is the website, but we do have an app for Android and iOS that is very similar, very easy-friendly, and I like it. So my prop pick today is Chris Morrell. So Morrell is on a 6-game hitting streak. I want him over 0.5 total hits. He is a top 10% hitter versus right-handed pitchers, and he's hitting over 348 over his last 20 games. I think this is a great spot, and that 0.5 number is way too low. If you did look at over 1 hit for him on sportsbooks, he's looking at minus 160. So this is a great spot. And Eli will be going with Patrick Wisdom over 0.5 total hits. So thank you, guys. I appreciate you listening to me. We will have Shannon back tomorrow. It's great to see you guys again. Happy Monday. Have a good one. Thank you.